Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be doing a tier ranking of all of the romance books that I've read in the past 3 years. If you've been around my channel for a long time, I am an avid romance reader. I love the romance genre, but the past year or so, I think I've been struggling a lot with finding romances that I love, and I think that I just don't really know what I like in romance. Unlike other genres, there's something about romance that makes it very hard for me to pinpoint why a romance works for me. With other genres, it can come down to tropes and writing styles and character archetypes. But with romance, I feel like a lot of it comes down to chemistry, which is very hard to judge without reading a book. So I thought what we would do is I would tier rank all of the romances that I've read in the past few years, and we can talk through why they worked for me, why they didn't, and then you guys can help me out. In the comments, maybe you guys will notice some sort of pattern. Maybe you'll have a recommendation for me. I'm seeking help here because I'm really struggling. I want to get back into romance. I want to love it again, but I just don't know what I like. So we're gonna start with this tier ranking. I made all my tiers based on my favorite thing in the world, which is Real Housewives. So these are all iconic Real Housewives quotes. At the very top, the top tier, the ones that are gonna be my absolute favorites. This one is, "I'll go to jail for you."
Girl, you know I'll go to jail for you. I haven't gone to jail yet.
Jen Shah sentenced to 6.5 years in prison.
So these are the books that I would go to jail for. I love them so much. I will ride for them. They are the hills that I will die on. I will fight and defend them with my life. Then we have a quote from another iconic Salt Lake City housewife, and that's, "I love Taco Bell."
You're raising kids on Taco Bell. Who does that?
I love Taco Bell, and I also love fine dining.
These are gonna be the books that they're not absolute favorites, but I loved them. They could be Taco Bell. They could be fine dining. Either way, I loved them, just not enough to go to jail for them. Then we have Miss Kathy Hilton, who is hunky-dory.
But it's hard for me to sit there and pretend like everything's great and hunky-dory when it's not.
Who is hunky-dory?
These are books that just didn't stick with me. I don't really remember them. They didn't leave an impression on me. I don't think I necessarily liked them or disliked them. I just don't have strong opinions on them one way or the other. Then we have Countess Luann with her iconic quote, "Even Louis Vuitton makes mistakes."
And you came in your Herman Munster shoes.
They're Louis Vuitton shoes, you know?
Well, yeah, even Louis Vuitton makes mistakes.
These are gonna be ones that I saw potential in. Maybe I have loved this author previously, or there were certain parts of it that worked for me, but ultimately I didn't like the book. And then lastly, the bottom tier, the ones that I hated with a fiery passion. We have, "When I called you garbage, I meant you were garbage."
Okay, when I called you garbage, I meant that you were garbage.
So those are my tiers. I hope that they make sense. If not, it doesn't matter. I really just wanted to include Real Housewives. All right, let's get started. First one that we have in here is From Duke Till Dawn. This is a historical romance. I actually read this recently because I have been trying to get back into historical romances. They used to be like my favorite romance subgenre, but I haven't read many recently. And this one I really, really did like. I would think I'll put this in I Love Taco Bell because it's not a favorite, but I love Eva Leigh. She's definitely like a top tier historical romance author for me. And this one was great. It wasn't a favorite, but when I was looking for a good historical romance, it hit where it needed to hit. This one, what I liked about it, had a heroine who was a con woman, and she had conned the hero, but he didn't know that, and he was just head over heels in love with her. So it definitely had that like bad girl, good boy trope to it. All right, the next one we have is Born Darkly by Trisha Wolfe. This is a dark romance, like a psychological thriller almost, about a psychologist on death row who interviews death row inmates before they're going to be executed, and she starts sessions with a very notorious serial killer and they end up falling in love. This one's tough. I really love it. It was the first dark romance that I ever read, but I don't know that I would go to jail for it. I do really love it. I think I would put this in I Love Taco Bell. I think since then I've read some dark romances with similar tropes that I love more. Oh, but would I go to jail for it? I don't know. That I might come back to that one. I really loved it though. Okay, then we have Sinner by Sierra Simone. This is part of her like priest series, which I actually did not like the first book, but this one I loved. This one is about the heroine is a nun, or she's about to become a nun, and then the hero is her brother's best friend. I think I'm also gonna put this one in I Love Taco Bell. I wouldn't go to jail for it, but I really, really loved it. I gave it 5 stars. This is probably my favorite Sierra Simone book. She's very hit or miss for me. I'm gonna skip around a little bit here because everything is going in I Love Taco Bell. I think that's gonna be my biggest category. And I'm just gonna pull up Sword Heart. This one right here, this is a fantasy romance and it's one of my all-time favorites. I would go to jail for this book any day. Sentence me. Give me any sentencing, I will go to jail for it. This one is like a grumpy sunshine, road trip, fantasy. It's truly amazing. And I've yet to find any other fantasy romances that I love as much as that one. Hero by Lauren Rowe. This one, I don't remember. I know that I gave it 5 stars when I read it, so I liked it. I just don't remember it at all. I think it's a fireman romance. I'm gonna put that in Who is Hunky Dory, because I can't, other than it being a fireman, which I can see on the cover, I don't remember anything about it. She has escaped my memory. She really has. So sorry to Lauren Rowe. Pestilence. Ooh, oh my God, I love this whole series. Would I go to jail for Pestilence? I think I would. I think if there's one of the books in that series that I would go to jail for, it's Pestilence, which actually, let me pull up all of them. Oh, I don't see the 4th one. Did I not grab the 4th book? Okay, well anyways, I'm gonna put War. This is the 2nd book in Even Louis Vuitton Makes Mistakes. I personally didn't really like this one. I gave it 3 stars and it's my least favorite of the whole series, but I do love the whole series overall. So that one is Even Louis Vuitton Makes Mistakes. Famine, I'm gonna put in I Love Taco Bell. I really, really loved Famine. I think the plot of Famine is my favorite, but I love Pestilence. Pestilence is my favorite of the Horsemen. And then if I had Death up here, I would also put Death in I Love Taco Bell. I don't know why I didn't grab that one, or maybe it is here and I just don't see it. The reason why I love this series overall is because I love the trope of some sort of non-human character. In this case, they are the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, learning about humanity and slowly becoming more human-like, learning emotions, learning what foods they like, just experiencing life. I love seeing that. That's one of my favorite tropes. I don't know what the specific trope is called, but I love it. And you find it a lot in like monster romances and alien romances. For the Duke's Eyes Only, this is by Lenore Bell. It's another historical romance. I don't remember it. I'm gonna put it in Who is Hunky Dory. I think it was about antique dealers or something. I don't remember. She's gone from my pea brain. A Heart of Blood and Ashes. This is a fantasy romance. I think I gave this one 3 stars. I'm gonna put it in Even Louis Vuitton Makes Mistakes. From what I remember, I hated the hero. I really didn't like him. He was too like mean and aggressive, but I loved the heroine. If I was just making this judgment off the heroine, I would put it in I'll Go to Jail for You, because I loved the heroine. The hero sucked. He really sucked, and I think he dragged the book down for me, so Even Louis Vuitton Makes Mistakes. Also, I'm probably mispronouncing Louis Vuitton, okay? Get over it. I'm gonna say it many times in this video, and it's probably gonna be wrong and different every single time, and I don't care. The Surviving Trace, this is a time travel romance that I remember loving. I think I'm gonna put this one in I Love Taco Bell. It's not like a favorite that I would go to jail for it, but I really, really loved it. On a scale of Taco Bell to fine dining, it is fine dining. I think I just really love the time travel aspect of it. I love when there's a character who gets like displaced or like put into an environment that they're not used to, whether it's a new planet or a new fantasy world or a new time period. Ooh, let's do this whole Wolf Gone Wild series. I think I have a few books in here from this series. This is the Stay a Spell series by Juliet Cross. They're all like paranormal, witchy romances. The first book so far is my favorite. I've read the first 3. So I'm gonna put this one in I Love Taco Bell. This one is a romance between one of the witches and a werewolf, and I really loved it because it had the vibes of Venom, because the way that the werewolf worked was that the like wolf inside him was another character who like spoke in his head, so it very much gave that Venom vibe to it, and I just thought that was really fun. I think I'm also gonna put the 2nd book in I Love Taco Bell. I didn't love this one as much as Wolf Gone Wild. This one was a witch and a vampire, and I really liked that. Now the 3rd book, Witches Get Stitches, I don't remember. I can't tell you who it was about, who was in it, what happened. I know that I read it That's all I got. Daughter of No Worlds by Carissa Broadbent. I really love this book. I'm gonna put it in I Love Taco Bell. I unfortunately am not gonna be continuing this series. I found out it has a trope later on in the series that I actually hate, so I'm not continuing, but I did really love the aspects of this where it was like they almost became friends first before they became romantic. It was like they went from kind of disliking each other to building a very strong friendship, then it turned romantic, and I liked that progression. I'm a very big fan of friends to lovers, and anytime that can get incorporated into a book, especially a fantasy romance, I love that. Okay, next we have Sea of Ruin. This one I'm going to jail for. I love Sea of Ruin. I will defend Sea of Ruin. This is a top tier romance for me. I know it's not for everybody, but I love it. This one is a pirate romance. It's polyamorous. It's very queer. It's very dark. It's historical. It just had everything that I ever wanted. It was a combination of like Pirates of the Caribbean and Black Sails, and it's the best pirate book that I've ever read, which is kind of unfortunate because it ruined all other pirate books for me. Which actually, let's talk about the other Pam Godwin book that I've read, which is Lessons in Sin. I would be generous and say even Louis Vuitton makes mistakes, but no, this one is, when I called you garbage, I meant you were garbage. This book was horrible. It was horrible. It was so bad. It takes place in a Catholic boarding school. The main character is either 17 or like just turned 18, but like this is a high school Catholic boarding school. And the hero is like the headmaster or like the teacher of this boarding school, and he starts up a little BDSM relationship with this student. It is so gross. I hated it. And this made me realize I really hate student-teacher romances. They just never ever work for me. And like the power imbalance in this was insane. Like this man should have been locked up. He really should have been locked up. I could keep going, but it's garbage. All right, next we have Only When It's Us. This is book 1 in the Bergman Brothers series by Chloe Lees. I really loved this book. I think I'm gonna put it in I Love Taco Bell. Same with the second book. These are the only two that I've read. I love both of them. I really need to read the rest of this series. I honestly don't know why I haven't, because I feel like Chloe Lees could become like a favorite romance author for me. I just really loved how cute both of these romances were, how like respectful and sweet they were. Okay, next we have Forget Me Not by QB Tyler. I'm putting this in Who is Hunky Dory. This is another one I don't remember. Forget Me Not, I don't remember. I think this one was about a married couple on the rocks. Another historical romance. This is Prince of Broadway by Joanna Shupe. This one I loved. I loved this whole series. I'm gonna put that one in I Love Taco Bell. These are like very spicy historical romances. I think they're like the most steamy ones that I've ever read. And next we have this whole Brutal Birthright series by Sophie Lark. I'm gonna put the first one. This is tough. This is tough. I think I'm gonna put books 1, 2, and 4 in I Love Taco Bell. Book 3 we'll put in Even Louis Vuitton Makes Mistakes. I did not like this one, but the other 3 I did really like. They're not favorites. I think I gave like book 1 3 stars. It's not a favorite series of mine, but I did enjoy them and I want to read more from Sophie Lark eventually. Book 3 was just very weird. It felt very out of place, and I didn't buy the chemistry between the main characters. Next up we have Lola and the Millionaires. This one I'm putting in I Love Taco Bell. Oh, or am I putting it in I'll Go to Jail for You? I don't know. I think, oh my god, this is tough. Okay, I'll put it in I Love Taco Bell. Maybe I'll move it up eventually. I love this one. This was my first ever Omegaverse, and I actually did like a whole spoiler vlog on my Patreon where I read this. And it was very fun. It was very fun diving into the Omegaverse world. And this one was a great introductory point for me, which actually I have another Omegaverse on here, Stolen by the Wolves. This one, I think I loved this one even more than Lola. I don't know. This one is a Viking Omegaverse. Even just like taking the romance part out of it, the world building was so amazing and fascinating, and I just loved the world. This one I will put in I Love Taco Bell. I am gonna reread this next month. It's gonna be my Patreon book club book, and it could potentially get moved up to I'll Go to Jail for You. I don't know, we'll see. I did physically read it when I had read it last year. It has an audiobook now, and it's possible that I would like it even more with the audiobook. But I clearly really love Omegaverse based on the ones that I've read so far. Next up, Delilah Green Doesn't Care. I'm gonna put it in Who is Hunky Dory. I I know that I read this one not even a year ago and I don't remember it already. Did I like it? It's possible that I didn't like it. Maybe I gave it 3 stars, or maybe I liked it. I feel like putting so many books in Who is Hunky Dory is gonna make me lose credibility as a reviewer. But you guys, my memory is so bad. My memory is truly, truly bad that if I don't like absolutely love something, I'm not gonna remember. Still Beating by Jennifer Hartmann. This is, I'm gonna go to jail. I'm gonna go to jail for her. I love this book. This is another dark romance. And I think what I love about this one, and what I realized I love in dark romance, there's 2 different types of dark romance that I love. One's like this, where the dark element is not in the relationship. It's not something that's happening between the 2 characters that are together. It's something that's happening outside of that, but it's not that like the hero's abusing the heroine or he's like a stalker. I don't think I like that. The second type of dark romance that I love is when they're both equally dark to each other. For example, Born Darkly is an example of that. Where they're both a little unhinged and crazy. Another example of that, I'll just pull this one up here even though it's at the bottom, Butcher and Blackbird. I'm putting that one in I'll Go to Jail for You. I loved that book. This one is more like a dark rom-com about 2 rival serial killers, and I like when it has that sort of like equal balance of them both being dark and crazy versus just one character being dark, the other one being a victim. I don't like that. Lotus, which is another Jennifer Hartmann book. We'll just do all the Jennifer Hartmann ones right now, I guess. I'm gonna put this one in I'll Go to Jail for You. I loved this book. This one is another one where the dark element is outside of the romance relationship. Let's find the other Jennifer Hartmann book that I have on here, The Wrong Heart. This one, I'm sorry, I have to put in When I Called You Garbage, I Meant You Were Garbage. I actually have not read a Jennifer Hartmann book since I read this one because of how bad it was. I hated this book. I hated everything about it. The relationship was so toxic. They should never have been together. There's a specific scene in here that I was like, excuse me? And yeah, despite the fact that I have 2 Jennifer Hartmann books that I would go to jail for, I've been scared to read her ever since this one. Okay, next we have Her Soul to Take by Harley LaRue. I think at one point I would have gone to jail for this book. I think now I'm gonna put it in I Love Taco Bell. I would need to reread it to know if it's like a top tier romance for me. I did really, really love it when I read it. I think this one was a really great blend of romance and horror because it involved like demons and cults and ritual sacrifices. But again, I think I would have to reread it. A Lady of Rooksgrave Manor by Catherine Moon. I'm gonna put this one in I Love Taco Bell. Yeah. I think I'm gonna put it in I Love Taco Bell. This one's definitely Taco Bell, not fine dining. It needed more plot. There was too much sex. It's a very long book and I wish it had more plot. There was a certain point that I was like, okay, I get it. They wanna bang, but it's too much. Run Posey Run by Kate C. Wells. I'm gonna put in Who is Hunky Dory. This is another one I don't remember. I know it's a mafia romance. I don't remember if I liked it. I'm gonna go on a limb and say I didn't. Unhinged by Onley James. This one I didn't like, but I'm gonna put this in Even Louis Vuitton Makes Mistakes because it wasn't terrible and there were things that I could see potential, which actually the second book, Psycho, I really enjoyed. So I'll put this one in I Love Taco Bell. Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. I'm gonna put this in I Love Taco Bell. This isn't a favorite of mine like most people. I feel like most people are like obsessed with this book and it's like one of their all-time favorite romances. It wasn't that for me, but I did really, really love it. Gravity by Sarah Kate. Actually, yeah, let's do all these Sarah Kate books. So we have Gravity by Sarah Kate. This one is going in garbage. This book is a love triangle between a girl, a guy, and his father, which is fine, except for the fact that there was a scene where the son and father are having sex with her at the same time, which, ew. Their parts were just a little too close for comfort for me. I found it very gross, and unfortunately I wish I could put this in Who is Hunky Dory. I wish I didn't remember, but it is cemented in my brain. Now for the Salacious Players Club series, I love this series. I'm gonna put the whole thing in I Love Taco Bell. It's not a favorite series of mine, but I really, really love it. I think if I had to put them in order of like which ones I like best, they would go in order of the series. So it would be Praise, Eyes on Me, and then Give Me More. And then I haven't read past that yet. I know that I need to. Listen, I'm very behind, okay? I'm very behind on all of my romance series. Okay, next we have The Dragon's Bride by Katie Robert. This one I actually really enjoyed. Katie Robert used to be a favorite romance author of mine, and then I got kind of burnt out on her stuff and I didn't really like any of it. And then I read this one and I enjoyed it. It's not a favorite, but as far as like a fun monster romance goes, I thought it was really good. Also, I mean, just 10 out of 10 for the cover. Now, I Married a Lizard Man. I'm gonna put this one in Even Louis Vuitton Makes Mistakes. There were things about it that I liked. I just don't think I could ever get on board with the lizard, which is weird because lizard is kind of close to dragon in that they're both sort of like reptilian. Lizard, he was just a little too reptilian for me. Black Sunshine by Karina Halley. This is a vampire romance. I'm gonna put this in Even Louis Vuitton Makes Mistakes. Karina Halley is an author who I used to read a lot from and I really enjoyed. This book wasn't terrible and I could definitely see potential from it. I just didn't like it. Next we have The Never King. I actually read this whole series. I think there's like 4 or 5 books, but I only got the picture for the first one. You know, I'm putting this in I Love Taco Bell. I gave every single book in the series 3 stars. They're not good, but I've read them twice. There's something about them that were just very addicting. It was like popcorn. It was popcorn and I couldn't stop. This is like a dark fantasy Peter Pan retelling and it was just really fun. They are the romance version of Taco Bell. Little Green Vines. This is a hunky dory. Who is that? I don't remember what this is. I can't even tell you vaguely what it might be. Has he been behind me the whole time? I never noticed him. He must have just popped up. Flawless by Elsie Silver. We're putting this in I'll Go to Jail for You. Same with, where is it? Heartless. Now, these are the only 2 that I've read in this series so far, but this is quickly becoming an all-time favorite romance series for me. Both of these are 5 stars. I've read both of them multiple times, which is really unexpected because in both books so far, they have tropes that I have said that I don't like, but there's something about Elsie Silver where it doesn't matter. She just makes me like it anyways. Next we have Mafia Mistress. Also the second book, Mafia, I think Darling. These are going in garbage. They are garbage. I hated these. Both characters in this book were just the worst. The guy, he was so abusive and I don't think he actually really liked the heroine. He just really wanted to fuck her. Every time you're in his point of view, he adamantly is like, I don't like her. He has nothing good to say about her. He just thinks she's hot. And then the heroine has no backbone. Every single chapter she's like, I'm gonna put my foot down and I'm not gonna let him treat me like this. And then the second that he starts touching her, she like turns into a puddle. I'm like, girl, pick yourself up off the floor. I hated it. It was horrible. And I read the second book just to see how bad it gets. It gets even worse. Lovely Bad Things by Trisha Wolfe. This one is Even Louis Vuitton Makes Mistakes. I didn't really like this one. This is another like serial killer psychological book, which this is the same author as Born Darkly. Born Darkly really worked for me. This one didn't. It got way too philosophical and at times I felt like I was reading a college textbook about like theology. It was just a mess. It was a mess. I didn't like it. 'Tis the Season for Revenge. This one I really liked. I'm gonna put this in I Love Taco Bell. This was a very fun Christmas romance that had like Legally Blonde vibes. Her Vigilante by Lillian Lark. Okay, I want to put this one in I Love Taco Bell. I'm gonna put it in Even Louis Vuitton Makes Mistakes. I did ultimately like this one and I do recommend it to people sometimes. It's not very good. There's things about it that I'm like, it had potential. There were things that I liked. I wish it was longer. It is a novella. It's very short. If you really, really love serial killer romances, I recommend trying it. But you know, I'm sorry. I don't think I can put it up here in I Love Taco Bell. So we're putting it in Even Louis Vuitton Makes Mistakes. The Beast by Jenica Snow. We're putting in garbage. I hated this one. Listen, I've never been the type of romance reader where excessive fluids gross me out. I can deal with that. This one, however, I'm sorry, when you're scooping up your fluid and pouring it like soup into another character's mouth, that's when you cross the line for me. That's when there's too much fluid. Too much fluid. I don't need to know about that. Okay, here we have The Traitor Queen. This is the sequel to The Bridge Kingdom, and I really loved this duology. I'm gonna put these in, oh, I don't have the first book here. I must have read that before. I'm gonna put it in I Love Taco Bell. I thought this was a really great fantasy romance duology. Captive of the Horde King by Zoe Draven. I don't remember this book. I think it's an alien romance. I'm putting it in Who is Hunky Dory. What is this one? Undeniable by Melanie Harlow. I'm gonna put this also in Who is Hunky Dory. I don't remember this one. I remember book 1, Irresistible. I read that a long time ago. I really loved that one. I think I liked this one, but I don't remember what it's about. I think it's small town romance. I don't know. The Charm Offensive, I loved this book. I'm gonna put this in I Love Taco Bell. This was a really, really cute romance that was kind of like based on The Bachelor. Oh, let's do these two Tessa Bailey books. It Happened One Summer. I'm gonna put in I Love Taco Bell. I really loved this book. I gave this one 5 stars. I would not go to jail for it. Listen, I would not go to jail for Tessa Bailey ever. She's a little... I don't really like Tessa Bailey, but I really liked this book. However, the second book, I'll put the second book in Even Louis Vuitton Makes Mistakes. It wasn't like horrible, but there's no way that this couple stayed together. That man was a mess. That man was a full mess, and he was not ready to be in any type of relationship. The Dead Romantics, I'm gonna put this in I Love Taco Bell. I really loved this book. Also, The 7 Year Slip. Both of these are by Ashley Poston. I really love her books. I love how she blends like some sort of like little magical twist, and then also very sweet, cute romances. If I had to pick one over the other, I would pick The Dead Romantics, but I thought both were really great. Neon Gods by Katie Robert, I didn't like. I'm gonna put this in Even Louis Vuitton Makes Mistakes. It wasn't terrible. I don't know. There's something about Katie Roberts' books where I don't think the plots are very good, so I prefer her shorter books to her like full-length books, because that's where you really see that the plot isn't really going anywhere. Heartstone by L. Catherine, what is it? L. Catherine White or something? I'm putting this in I'll Go to Jail for You. I really loved this book. This is a Pride and Prejudice retelling where Mr. Darcy is a dragon writer, so it has Pride and Prejudice vibes, the dragon vibes, and the fantasy elements are actually really great. There's like battles and them fighting and riding dragons and going on these quests. It was so good. It was so good. Waiting for a Scot Like You. I'm gonna put this in, honestly, I'll Go to Jail for You. This is one of my favorite historical romances because this one is about an older heroine. I think she's in her 40s and she is a widow. Her husband has died and she's like, finally, she's had a very horrible sex life with her husband. So now that he's dead, her one request is that she wants to go to an orgy. But the road trip to this orgy is a little dangerous, so her friends are like, you need to hire a private guard to escort you to this orgy. So she hires this younger man who is like this Scottish soldier, and they journey together, and it's so cute. It's so cute. I love a road trip story. So this one kind of reminded me a little bit of Sword Heart because they're both road trip books. I just love when they're like having to stop at little inns and there's only one bed. And, it's just so cute. It's so cute. Okay, next we have A Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. I'm gonna put this in I Love Taco Bell. I really loved this book. I think it was so fun. Such an amazing like cozy fantasy romance. King of Battle and Blood by Scarlett St. Clair. I'm gonna put this in Even Louis Vuitton Makes Mistakes. I really didn't like this one, but it wasn't terrible. It was just, I don't think I like her writing. There's something about her writing that I've just never clicked with. All Roads Lead Here. Oh, I put this one in twice accidentally, but this is going up to I'll Go to Jail for You. This is one of the most recent romances that I've read, and it has quickly become an all-time favorite. The way that I'm obsessed with this book, obsessed. This had everything that I wanted in a romance. It is slow burn, it is small town, it had a lot of plot outside of the romance. I feel like there was enough time to get to know each of the characters so that when they finally do get together, you feel like you really know them and understand why they work together. It had like the grumpy hero and the more sunshine heroine. I loved the whole cast of characters. Like, everything about it was perfect. Barbarian Alien by Ruby Dixon. This one's garbage. This one's garbage, I'm sorry. I liked the first Ice Planet Barbarian book, and I've read a few other ones. I don't remember which ones they are. This one was not good. This one was really not good. The hero in this, he was a freak, and at no point was I ever like rooting for them to be together because the way that their romance starts off is so weird. Like, he kidnaps her and takes her to this cave, and as she's unconscious, he's inspecting her entire naked body. Like, inspecting. He's like up in her vagina. He's up in there, giving her a full pat down, a full pap smear. After that, I could never root for them because he was just a little freak. That Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Demon, I'm gonna put in I Love Taco Bell. This was very fun. Another cozy fantasy romance that I really loved, like the world aspect of this book. Don't Want You Like a Best Friend. You know what? I gave this book 4 stars, but I think I would go to jail for her. I really would. The only thing that I didn't like about this book was I thought it was a little long. It could have been edited down slightly, but everything else about it, I loved. And I think I would go to jail for it. I do. This is a sapphic historical romance about two friends who are trying to like set up their parents with each other. And as they're doing that, they end up falling in love with each other. And it was just amazing. I loved all the characters. I loved their parents. I loved all their friends. I was rooting for them so hard. Next up, we have Bride by Ali Hazelwood. You know what? I also think I'd put this one in I'll Go to Jail for You. This made me become an Ali Hazelwood believer. I was kind of a little skeptic about Ali Hazelwood, but I get it now. I get it. I loved this book. I read it twice in one day. I finished it and I immediately had to start again. That's how much I loved it. And I think it's because it really just brought me back to that nostalgia of like the old school paranormal romance. You Again, I also think I'm gonna put in I'll Go to Jail for You. I loved this book. This is another one that's like a slow burn where they kind of start out as like rivals and then they're both at like the lowest points in their lives and they decide to kind of help each other through it and they become friends, and then slowly through that they start a romance. And this is another one where I feel like you really spend enough time with each of the characters individually that when they finally get together, it makes sense. A lot of times I feel like with romances, you just don't get to know the characters as individuals enough so that I end up not really caring about them when they get together because I'm like, I don't know who they are by themselves, so I don't care about them in this couple. And then the last one we have is Forged by Magic, and I'm gonna put this in I Love Taco Bell. This is a very cozy fantasy romance that I love, enemies to lovers, and I loved the plot of this one because there's kind of this like medieval games happening. So it's just very fun. And that's all of the books ranked. Okay, let me see if there's anything I wanna change. I think this row looks pretty solid. If I'm looking at this, let me try to figure out some things that are commonalities. Sword Heart, Pestilence, Waiting for a Scot Like You, all three of those are road trip books. They all journey across the kingdom or the land or the world. So I clearly really like that. You Again, Don't Want You Like a Best Friend, Lotus, and kind of Butcher and Blackbird, those are all friends to lovers, where they start off with like a very good friendship and then it develops into romance. Honestly, Sea of Ruin, you could kind of also call this a road trip. They're just doing it on a boat. All Roads Lead Here, and then Flawless and Heartless are all like small town romances. That's all I've got for what I think I like. So based on this ranking, based on what I've talked about that I like, please in the comments give me some recommendations. Let me know some other romance books that you think that I would enjoy, because I'm really struggling here. I'm struggling to find things that I like. I think once I get a bunch of recommendations from you guys, I will do a reading vlog reading some of those recommendations. So thank you guys for watching. If you like this video, please like and subscribe and check out my Patreon where I post tons of exclusive content. I will see you guys in my next video. Bye. Did you see how he popped his head up when I said bye?